Poor Filipino boy sings Hotel California. Judges cry and smash the golden buzzer. The stage lights were blinding, but 12-year-old Miguel didn't flinch. His tiny hands clutched the microphone like it was the last thread of hope he had in the world. His heart pounded so loud it drowned out the noise of the crowd inside the America's Got Talent arena. This was his dream, a dream that had traveled across oceans, through hunger, storms, and endless nights of singing beneath flickering streetlights in a small fishing village in the Philippines. Miguel's father had once been a fisherman, a proud man who sang old Eagles songs while mending his nets by the sea. "Music keeps the soul alive, hijo," he used to say. But after a typhoon destroyed their home and took his father's boat, and eventually his life, Miguel's world changed overnight. His mother began washing clothes for neighbors, while Miguel sang on street corners to earn a few coins. Sometimes, when he sang Hotel California, passers-by stopped and stared, not because of pity, but because his voice, haunting, raw, and beautiful, carried pain beyond his years. One day, a foreign tourist filmed Miguel singing barefoot near the market and uploaded it online. Within weeks, the video went viral, millions of views, thousands of comments, and one email that changed everything, an invitation from the producers of America's Got Talent. When Miguel and his mother landed in Los Angeles, they had only one small suitcase, borrowed clothes, and faith. It was his first time outside the Philippines, the city lights, the cold air, the massive crowd, it was all overwhelming. Backstage, other contestants laughed and practiced. Miguel sat quietly, his eyes on his mother's trembling hands. She whispered, "No matter what happens, sing with your heart, Anak. Your father will hear you." When his name was called, the audience fell silent. Miguel stepped onto the stage, small and shy beneath the towering judges' table. Simon Cowell leaned forward. "What's your name?" he asked. Miguel, sir, from the Philippines," he replied softly. "And what will you be singing today?" Miguel hesitated, took a deep breath, and said, "Hotel California. It was my father's favorite song." The music began, that familiar guitar intro echoing through the hall. But when Miguel started to sing, something extraordinary happened. His voice wasn't loud or flashy, but pure and aching, every note soaked in emotion. The crowd leaned in. He sang like someone reliving every memory, the nights under candlelight, his father's laughter, the ocean's roar, and the loneliness that followed. By the first chorus, a woman in the front row was crying. By the second, even Simon looked down, trying to hide his emotion. And when Miguel reached the final verse, his voice breaking, tears streaming, he held the last note longer than anyone thought possible. It wasn't just a song. It was a farewell, a prayer, and a promise. When the music faded, silence filled the room, a heavy, breathtaking silence. Then came a roar of applause that shook the entire theater. Miguel stood frozen, his chest heaving, unsure if it was real. He was about to thank them when Sofia Vergara suddenly stood up, tears in her eyes, and shouted, "You made me feel something I haven't felt in years." Heidi Klum pressed her hand to her heart. Howie Mandel whispered, "That was angelic." And then, in one unforgettable moment, Simon Cowell, known for his unshakable composure, rose from his seat, walked to the golden buzzer, and slammed it with all his might. Golden confetti burst into the air. Miguel dropped to his knees, crying uncontrollably. His mother ran onto the stage, wrapping him in her arms as the audience chanted his name, "Miguel. Miguel." Simon walked up, bent down, and said softly, "That wasn't just talent, young man. That was truth." In that moment, the poor boy from a forgotten village became the voice of millions who'd ever been broken but refused to stop dreaming. The clip of his audition spread like wildfire, "Filipino boy makes judges cry," and within hours, the world knew Miguel. But the best part wasn't the fame. Days later, back in his hotel room, Miguel learned that the village school he once attended had started receiving donations from all over the world, enough to rebuild classrooms, buy instruments, and even open a small music program in his father's name. Months passed, and Miguel's journey continued. He performed on the AGT stage again, stronger and more confident, always dedicating each performance to his father. But one night, during an interview, when asked what success meant to him, he smiled and said, "It's not about winning. It's about giving people hope, the same hope my father gave me." Years later, Miguel would return home, not as a contestant, but as a hero. The same streets he once sang on were now filled with children humming Hotel California. The sea breeze carried the sound of guitars and laughter, and somewhere, in the rhythm of the waves, Miguel swore he could still hear his father singing along. Because sometimes, it's not about where you come from, but what you carry in your heart. And Miguel carried music, pure, honest, and eternal, a song that reminded the world that even from the poorest places, the brightest voices can rise and touch the heavens.